Hey y'all, come on into my kitchen and have a seat at my table. Today we are going to make some mashed potatoes and some sauteed cabbage. I'm doing that because I also made some braised short ribs today with the wine reduction sauce. So I wanted to go ahead and show you what I was going to do with my potatoes and my cabbage. So let's get started. I have these little small petite gold potatoes, and I'm just gonna put them in some salted boiling water, and I'm gonna let them just cook until they get fork tender. Before I put them into the pot though, I do want to cut them into pieces. Let me show you what I actually did. This is actually the bag that I bought. I opened it up the wrong side, so bear with me. So these are just petite gold potatoes. I think I have maybe about 10. And what I'm gonna do, let me turn you around so you can actually see what I'm doing here. I'm just going to, never mind the cabbage because we're gonna make the cabbage. That's gonna be our cabbage. I know my chopping board is a little small. I should have gotten a bigger one. I'm just gonna cut them up in quarters just like that. Just smaller pieces, let them cook a little. And yes, I'm actually going to leave the skin on because these are such tiny potatoes. It's just not worth trying to peel the potatoes. It's just not worth it. And the skin is actually nutritious in a potato anyway, so we're gonna just leave it like that. And at the end of this, I'm actually gonna show you guys the braised short ribs that I've been cooking, that's been cooking for maybe about 2 hours now. And it takes about 2.5 to 3 hours for them to cook. So here you go. I've cut up our potatoes, put them in our bowl. I'm going to take you over to our pot of boiling water. I'm going to add some salt to this water because I haven't done so yet. So hold on. Let's grab our salt. Potatoes can hold up a lot of salt, so I'm going to make this really salty water. The water is salty. The water is salty. And then I'm just gonna add our potatoes right into the bowl, into the pot. And then I'm just gonna let that pot go. I'm not even gonna cover it. I'm just gonna let it go until the potatoes are fork tender. And once they're fork tender, then we'll take it to the next step. So in the meantime, I'm gonna, in this skillet here, normally I would take some bacon and use bacon in that for my fat in this pot, because bacon, of course, is really good when it comes to cabbage and sauteed cabbage. But I don't have any bacon right now, so I'm just gonna plop about 2 of those. That's probably like a half a stick of butter. And I'm just gonna put it in there, and we're gonna let it go. And we're gonna come back over here. That's just gonna melt. It's just, my skillet was hot, I turned it off. And now I'm gonna come over here and actually begin to process or cut up my cabbage. And I'm also gonna add an onion and a bell pepper in it as well. So we're gonna start off by cutting up our cabbage. I like to cut this bottom piece off, and I've just like that. So that's actually trash for me. I take these leaves. I'm actually going to cut those leaves up, but because they're hanging off. And if you can tell, my cabbage is wet, and that's because I actually went ahead and rinsed off the top. I cut my cabbage in quarters because it allows me to get to this core a whole lot easier. Let me show you. I lay the cabbage down, and then I go in at an angle, just like this, and I cut. That allows me to cut out the core or the stem so that we're not eating this piece. We're gonna eat all of this. So once we do that on all of our pieces, just cut it. Almost looks like a Christmas tree. Huh, that's funny. Christmas is over. We're gonna do the same thing on all 4 quarters, just like this, just cutting out that middle piece. Okay, so then what I do is I turn it back over and I cut it in half again. And then I just begin to, this is what happens when you use a small chopping board. And then I just cut the pieces just like that. That's all I do, okay? So let's get that in the bowl. And we're gonna do it again in half, And I do this because I like little bite-sized pieces. I like bite-sized pieces of cabbage. If you don't mind larger pieces, then that's fine. Don't cut it again. Just take the, you don't have to, never mind cutting the cabbage again in half. Just go ahead and cut it up. But this is how I like mine. And I'm just showing you what I like. Okay? Being careful. Because I told you, my little cutting board today. It's not that I don't have a bigger one. It's just the one just so happened that I pulled out at the time. And that's one that I'm using. Now, steaming cabbage or sauteing your cabbage is fairly easy. When it comes to these bigger leaves, I like to roll it just like I roll up my collard greens. I cut it down the middle, holding all the pieces together, and I just chop. And I know people that like to throw away the outer leaves. I don't like to throw them away because I believe that they have a lot of flavor to them. So I like to hold on. I like the color, the bright, the contrasting color on the collard greens. So that's on the cabbage leaves. That's the reason why I leave it. I am also going to put in a little bell pepper. So I'm going to cut off the top. Normally I wouldn't, but I'm going to cut off the top. And this way I can actually go around in a circle and then actually pull out my seeds. That's my little trick. Then I can proceed to cut it in half and then take my knife and cut out the actual vein. Really simple. Really, really super simple. I know I'm not a real chef, so don't judge me. Then what I like to do is I like to just take it and just make thin slices because I don't want to cut it in quarters, or I don't want to cut it in little small pieces. I do want to see the bell pepper in my, but I'm only going to do half because I don't want it to be overwhelming with pepper. And then I'm going to take them and stack them and cut them in half again. Cut out that part. Put that in my bowl, just like that. And what I'm actually going to do is I'm actually going to put all of this in the bowl at one time. And now I'm going to take my onion, cut off one side, cut off the other side, chop it down the middle, and then I'm going to peel my onion just like this, taking off that top layer. Because that's got a little cut in it, I'm just going to cut that little piece off. It's still trying to get in the pot. Cut it in half, and then I'm just going to cut little thin pieces just like this. And this is just with my half an onion. I'm probably going to put more onion in it because I do like the taste of onion in my cabbage. But they're going to disintegrate. And I say disintegrate, you're not going to be able to really be able to tell the onion from everything else. Now, I know people that also like to put carrots in their cabbage. If you like carrots, now's the time to shred up your carrots and also put them in there. I'm not a huge carrot fan in my cabbage. I'm taking this layer off because it looked kind of suspicious to me, so I just cut it off. And I'm just going to chop up maybe another half of this half. So in essence, I'm using 3/4 of an onion. Okay? And again, you know, I don't like to use measurements or in recipes or in my cooking because I think that That's me telling you how your food should taste, and you know what you want your food to taste like. Clean this up really fast because this is going to drive me crazy. The onion. Get all of this cleaned up. Get it in my trash pile. And now I'm going to bring you back over, and I'm going to show you my secret ingredient to my cabbage. So now our butter is melted, and I just have this on a nice little low setting because I really want it to steam. I don't want it to do anything more than steam, right? So this is going to be steamed cabbage, not sauteed cabbage, not braised cabbage, just a simple simple steam. And I'm just going to pour everything into the pot. My stove is clean, so just don't worry about me picking up pieces of cabbage and putting it back in here because my stove is clean. Okay, so I'm going to empty that out. My head of cabbage is in there, and all I'm going to do is my secret ingredient that I like to put in my cabbage is some Knorr bouillon stock. Here we go. A lot of times, this is what I use. A lot of times I use the chicken flavor here, but this is the vegetable one, but I also like the chicken one. So pick these up when you get an opportunity. I think I am going to go ahead and use the chicken one because that's the one I really like to use. And be careful. This stuff is salty. You can tell I actually use it. So just be careful. You're just going to do a light dusting. And yeah, there's going to be some larger clumps coming out. And what you just do is you just take that up and break it up and just sprinkle it around. Just like that. This is bouillon. And this is what I use instead of a little salt and a little pepper. Gives it a whole different kind of unique kind of taste. And I absolutely love it. Now all I'm going to do is take my lid, if I can find out what I just did with it. I'm going to take my lid. I'm going to put just a tad of water. This is what I do. I put just a tad of water. Can you see that? Just a tad of water inside the lid, and then I just pour it on top. And then all I do is I cover it. Just like that. Push it down, make sure it's on there, and I just let it go. I let it simmer and steam and make sure it cooks. Once in about 10-15 minutes I'll come back through and I'll look at it, stir it up a little bit, because at that point it would have released a lot of the cabbage, would release a lot of the water, and it'll its own natural water, and it'll the lid will actually close a little bit more, and the cabbage will be able to steam that way. And you can tell our potatoes are going just fine. Look at our potatoes, they're boiling. Again, no lid on our potatoes, and even if I touch it right now, they're not fork tender yet. They're getting there. Look, they're getting there, but not quite fork tender. While this is going, I'm going to check on my braised short ribs. You guys want to take a look? Come on, let me open the oven, and then I'll bring it out of the oven. Let's see if we can get you guys up to the oven. Let's bring you guys over to the oven so you can see. There we go. Let's see what we can see in the oven with these with this braised look at there. Can y'all see? It's our braised. I'm gonna put it, I don't want it to fall out because I'm scared. And this is our braised short ribs. Couldn't think of it. Look how nice and tender that looks. I'm just gonna get those down into make sure that it's all submerged in our. And what I did with this is I just simply I browned them, and then I sauteed them in, I sauteed some onions and celery and some garlic, and then I added some thyme, and then I added some bay leaves, and that's it, and a little wine and beef stock. That's all I put in it. Let it go for 2-3 hours, and then we're ready to go. I'm gonna pull them out of there in about another 45 minutes or so, and then I'm going to take the short ribs out of the broth, out of the Dutch oven, and I'm going to reduce the sauce, reduce what's in there, thicken it up just a little bit so that we can have some gravy on our potatoes. It's gonna be good, guys. I can't wait. And did I say I used red wine? I did use red wine in it, so can't wait for you guys to see it. See you in a minute. Okay, so we're back. We're gonna take a look at our cabbage. It's been about maybe 15-20 minutes on the cabbage. Our cabbage is almost done. I like my cabbage when I steam it to be nice and crispy. There we go. Take a look. All we're gonna do is still nice bright green color. We're gonna stir it up. Not a whole lot of liquid in it. All we're doing is just stirring up our stock that we put in there, our bouillon cube, and just mixing our onions and our bell pepper in. I like the way it looks. I like the color on it. I don't know if you can really see it, but we are going to definitely also taste this at the same time. Uh-oh, some cabbage missed the pot. That's okay. I'm gonna pick it up and put it in trash. I'm gonna get a fork so we can taste it. Give it a nice little taste, see what we like, see what we don't like, change some things, give us an opportunity to actually change it. Let's see. I like it. Just as it is. I like it. I like it just as it is. So I'm going to leave it alone. Take it off the eye. And then what we're going to do is we're going to check our potatoes. Potatoes have been talking. You can tell because I've gotten splatters all over my stovetop. As a matter of fact, let me get this up. Got splatters all over my stovetop. I do believe our potatoes are probably done. I'm going to turn them off. Let's take a look. Stab one. Comes off. Fork tender. We're going to just pour the water off of this. I turned the eye off. I've already poured the water. I'm going to pour the water off. And then we'll go from there, and I'll show you what to do. We're going to use the other stick of butter that we didn't use for our cabbage. And then I'm going to pull out some. I like to add sour cream into my potatoes. That's how I get mine nice and creamy. And then we're going to add pepper and some salt. So let's go over to the sink. Oh, let me take you this way. Over to the sink. And we're going to pour this liquid off of here. And then we're going to put our, I'm struggling, y'all. It's my little stand. I'm going to pour this water off. And we're going to keep the potatoes in this pot. Just pouring off our water, making sure our water is off. Just like that. Just use the side of my knife. And then what we're going to do, we're going to come back over to the same eye that I had it on originally. While my potatoes are still hot, I'm just going to take this butter, and we're going to add the butter to the, add our butter to just the rest of the butter. Just I cut it up in fours. I'm going to toss it in there just like that. And again, we're not removing the skin. And the reason why we're not removing the skin is because there's some healthiness in those skins. Now you can do this one or two ways. I'm going to just use a simple fork because these potatoes are fork tender, and I can just easily blend them up just like that, just like that. And what you hear is the stovetop is still rather hot. See, and it's just taking up the rest of that water that's in there. And I'm just gonna gently mash our potatoes. See how nice and yellow they are? They're so nice and pretty. Just mashing our potatoes. You can use a blender, a hand mixer, or potato masher, or whatever it is that you want to use. But if you've done this right, this is going to come out just fine, and you'll be able to use a simple fork, not even a whole lot of effort, and your butter will melt as well because your potatoes are nice and hot. And the stovetop, you see how my butter is melting inside there? Because what you don't want to do is over stir or over process your potatoes. Potatoes have a natural starch in them that will make them gluey, and you don't want that. And you can have nice fluffy potatoes just by using a simple fork. So now that I think we've mashed it up, and I don't care about the potato skins. If you care about the potato skins, you can either use a ricer and those potato skins will come out, but we don't care about potato skins in our household. I'm just adding a touch of black pepper, and we're going to stir that in. Again, being careful, you don't want to over process your potatoes because then it starts to become glue-ish. And I like the way that looks. I'm going to get some sour cream.
You'll have to excuse my spice rack in the back.
Taking out our fork, switching over to a spoon and our sour cream. I'm probably gonna, we don't have a lot of potatoes, which is fine. It's just Spencer and I today. No one's here, none of our kids are here, so it's just he and I having dinner. So I'm just gonna take maybe a nice little huge spoon, a nice spoon of it. And I'm gonna cream our potatoes. So this is an 8-ounce container, so I used about that much. Just a nice little heaping spoonful. And then what I'm going to do is just stir it in. Oh, the smell of the sour cream hitting these hot potatoes smell phenomenal. I like texture to my potatoes. So yet again, I am not trying to completely and totally make them smooth because I do like texture. I do like to have to chew something. I think only babies don't need to chew their food, but that's just me. But if you're looking for creamier potatoes or smoother potatoes, definitely use your hand mixer or your food processor or even a ricer to get this smoother. I like texture, so, and I'm also lazy. So I want to taste these. I want to make sure we have enough salt. Because remember, we salted the water. Only thing else that I put in here was pepper and the sour cream. You can use heavy cream too instead of the sour cream if you prefer that. If you're looking for a completely vegan way of doing this, then you would just use your oat milk or almond milk or some milk, and then you would also use vegan butter. But I'm going to taste these and see what they taste like. No more salt. These are tasty. These are really tasty. And I'm going to leave this just like that. And we're done with our potatoes and we're actually done with our potatoes and our cabbage. Mashed potatoes and cabbage.